Hey Crosspoint, I wanted to take a moment and update you on Crosspoint's in-person gathering plans and give you a couple important dates that we hope that you'll mark on your calendars, especially if you're local to the Cary area. Now, one of the things that I've said all along over the last several months is that as soon as we have new information to share, we'll share it. But I've realized lately that there's a major hiccup in that strategy. For instance, I recently read where someone described the moment that we're in as very unique to many of us because of just how science works. That the vast majority of us are only exposed to scientific conclusions. We don't see the years and the decades and the research and experimentation and change directions and new learnings and failings and new theories. Many of us, just what we see is the final result. But what we're experiencing culturally right now in our world now is the scientific process in real time, where the entire world gets to judge every step of the way. They get to see every step, where research is constantly evolving and recommendations keep changing as scientists learn, and there's failings and there's new directions and new recommendations all along the way. And the thing is, that's just normal. It's how the scientific process has always worked. But many of us, we just never experience all those years and changes behind the scenes. We just benefit from the conclusions, or we just benefit when a product hits the shelves. And so this is one of the main contributors, I think, to why so many people in our world are frustrated and angry and exhausted right now, because they just want to be like, you know what, just make a decision and stick with it. We all want that, right? Or you find people accusing scientists of lying when they change their mind based on new information, when the reality is things are just constantly in flux right now. And so when it comes to how we as Crosspoints leaders are making decisions on what in-person Sunday morning gatherings look like, whenever someone's asked us in the last few months, so like, hey, when are we gathering back together? And we say, I really don't know. It's because we really don't know in that moment. Frankly, a few weeks ago, things looked like we were headed in the direction where it felt like that the world was opening up more and more. And we were laying the groundwork to relaunch weekly in-person Sunday morning gatherings this fall. And we were so excited about that. But in the last few weeks, there's just been this major shift culturally where it no longer feels like, and the data no longer seems to say that the world is opening up more and more. Rather, it feels like that restrictions are increasing more and more. The local paper here published a survey of Wake County doctors just this last week who overwhelmingly said that they personally would no longer feel comfortable gathering with large groups of people indoors, even if they're vaccinated and even if they're masked. Well, Crosspoint, that applies to us. I've personally spoken with 3 health experts in the Crosspoint community who agree that things have changed in the last few weeks, that trends are headed in the wrong direction, and that they all cautioned about gathering in a large group inside. That it probably wasn't in the best interest of loving people well in this moment. Now, another factor to keep in mind is that when it comes to Sunday mornings and our gatherings, we have to weigh out what's best for the entire community. And you guys know this, right? Infants through 11-year-olds can't be vaccinated yet. And at Crosspoint, when we gather on a Sunday morning, we have a couple hundred kids that fit into that category normally. And furthermore, we have teams of volunteers that love and work with them, many of which have rightly expressed concerns about being potentially carriers of an unknown carrier of the virus to those kids, or contracting it themselves. And no one wants to risk putting our kids in danger, let alone anyone else. And then we're faced with the reality that only 54% of eligible recipients in Wake County have chosen to be vaccinated so far. And even a more influencing statistic, the pediatric cases of COVID, so kids under 18, jumped 84% across the country from just last week to this week, with 72,000 new cases of COVID in kids. But with all that said, what we also know, and that many of us all feel, is that interacting with people face to face, it's important. It's important for everyone's mental, emotional, and physical health. It's not just a luxury, it's important. So we're constantly left with wrestling with, from literally week to week, how do we lead with wisdom and love when it comes to this? So here's where we're at today. We've placed on the calendar 2 Sunday morning gatherings that will take place outside, where we're going to require masks of everyone, regardless of vaccination status. Mark these down on your calendar. One is Sunday morning, September 26th, and the other is Sunday morning, October 24th. We think we can have some live music, a little bit of live teaching, separate programming for kids, and some space afterwards to hang out safely with each other after. Now, we'll still be producing online content for those of you who join in maybe from home or from different places around the country or around the world. But if you're local, I want you to go ahead and mark those dates down on your calendar. We think this is consistent with what we've laid out all along, that we're slowly trying to ease back into the pool a step at a time rather than just cannonballing into the deep end. But if it becomes clear that we can't do those Sunday morning dates in a safe and responsible way, we just all need to recognize up front. We've got to hold those dates loosely if wisdom tells us that we shouldn't move forward with them. Or if it starts pouring rain or hurricane season sweeps through and we would be forced to go inside, well, we're not going to go inside. And so that means we have to cancel those dates. So we just need to hold those loosely. But let's assume that in the next few weeks, the trajectory changes again in a more positive direction. Then we'll definitely be reevaluating to look at what gathering may look like for our community. And we'll start evaluating that at the end of October. And so friends, here's the thing. This is just our reality right now. We're in the middle of an ever-changing discovery process, and we can only look out about 2 weeks at a time, which I fully admit drives those of us who are planners and who like things planned out, it drives us crazy. But it feels like the only responsible way for Crosspoint to move forward in a loving and healthy way under the current circumstances. Now, over the next couple months, as long as it makes sense, also understand we're going to continue to have several separate opportunities for smaller groups of kids, students, and adults to gather in person, outside, en masse. We've been doing that this summer. It's only going to continue through the fall. And rest assured, we will still be fully leaning in as a church community in plenty of other ways. We'll be tackling affordable housing with Habitat for Humanity. We'll be harvesting fresh food from our gardens for people in need. We'll be partnering with Rise Against Hunger, and there will be opportunities to serve with all these initiatives in the next few weeks. We'll also be offering other opportunities, both online and in person, to connect in smaller groups, as well as everything else that we constantly have going on. And so Crosspoint, that's just where we're at. And you need to know, if you're disappointed in that, it's okay. It's okay to feel that way. It's disappointing. If you're frustrated, it's okay to feel frustrated because it's a frustrating situation. And if you're relieved, it's okay to feel that way too, because we're in the midst of highly stressful circumstances that none of us have really navigated before. But however you feel, I want you to know you're not alone. We're in this together. And I'm incredibly honored to link arms with you in this community. Now, one last thing. I just want to continue to thank those of you who are continuing to support the Crosspoint community financially during these challenging times. Your financial support is what's allowing Crosspoint to fund initiatives with programs like Habitat and Rise Against Hunger. It allows us to continue to meet with and pay critical bills for hundreds of people in crisis. It allows us to walk with and serve families in holistic ways as they're dealing with tragedies, and it's allowing us to produce content and experiences for people literally around the world that need healing and freedom and a reimagined vision of what it means to follow Jesus here and now. And so, thank you. For those who've contributed financially and done so faithfully and consistently, thank you. It's just a huge deal. And as we say each week, if you want to contribute financially, if you want to jump in on that, or you want to just, at whatever point you want to say, you know what, I want to help with that. If you want to contribute to all that we're doing, you can go to crosspoint.org/contribute. You'll find information there on how to contribute via card or check, PayPal, stocks, however you would like to. And you can contribute one time if you want, or you can allow you to set up recurring contributions at whatever interval you want, if that just makes it easier on you, whatever you want to do. But Crosspoint, thanks again for everything. You're not alone. You're loved. And we're with you. Take care.